that the Attorney General decided to terminate the prosecution of Chief Adam. The withdrawal of these charges at this stage in law, for our purposes, is a finding of not guilty. It is a true victory not only for Allan Adam and his family, other Indigenous accused, but for our society generally. It is a clear statement that the police are not the final arbiters of the law. Police decisions are subject to review and reversal where the facts justify. It is also confirmation of the need for checks and balances in our justice system. It also validates Chief Adam's view that the police conduct against him on March 10th, 2020 was excessive, unreasonable, and unwarranted. It is clear that his race played a role in the police decision to charge. The Attorney General's decision today validates Chief Adam's view that the RCMP charges were laid as a police shield to their aggressive and abusive conduct, not a true belief that criminal activity had occurred. Since Chief Adam was assaulted by the RCMP, a courthouse search reveals that the most offending officer, now referred to in the press as Constable Simon Seguin, badge number 61225, has a trial set in September 30th, 2020 in Fort McMurray on separate charges of assault, mischief, and unlawfully being in a dwelling house. We were unaware of those events, and it was only very recently that that was revealed. Those events, which led to charges against him, occurred August 5th, 2019. It was 7 months later that Officer Seguin tackled and assaulted Chief Adam, almost 4 months ago. As of this date, that police officer remains on full duty, not suspended, not fired, and full duty, allowing him to carry a firearm. The RCMP commissioner recently called upon the public nationally to remain calm about systemic racism. But we say the period for calm has passed. Reasonable members of the public want direct, specific, focused action and solutions. Chief Adam's case and the police response to he and his family highlight the absence of an ability by at least 2 police officers to deal with a $310 ticket in a professional and sensitive way. So for those who join the RCMP simply to be law enforcers, the old style sheriff, not social workers, it may be time to look to the Canadian military as a career. Chief Adam's case forces us to go back to the primary principles of policing. The video, which fortunately captured the police misconduct, shows the first officer in a confrontation style putting his right hand on his gun. Although he never did remove it from his holster, it remained on his gun for a period of time. So maybe it's time for us to consider whether all police officers should be armed. Some countries, such as England, don't permit it, certainly not with all officers. We have officers who are patrolling our schools now, who I understand may be armed as well. Removing those arms might force police officers to be creative and professional in their problem solving. We would not be here today if a police officer quietly dealt with this matter by way of issuing a ticket in a sensitive respectful way. This case, like too many others in recent weeks, shines a clear spotlight on systemic racism that for too long has gone unchecked and unbridled. Well, today is a historic day because Chief Adam's case is a call for justice. Although the figure of Madam Justice shows her to be blind or eyes covered so that she can deal with things without discrimination, it does not mean that her ears are covered or plugged. I have no doubt that she is listening. And she, like the rest of us, wants some answers because for too long, this has gone on. A change from a militaristic style of police force to focus more on, which is focused on the control of citizens, to one which views its role as being community members, where there's a focus to bring harmony to a community, not control. Recently, some police associations responding to public criticism of the police have suggested that police officers are not social workers, as though being a social worker was somewhat beneath them. All caring professions, including mine, have an element of social work, and I'm proud of that. For those who are not prepared to accept that responsibility, it may be time to change careers. Today, I hope, casts light on an unfortunate event, but one which typifies how Indigenous people have too often been treated, where they haven't had the benefit of Chief Allan Adam's eloquence, his determination to stand for his rights. And we say today is a day that calls for us all to demand change. Thank you.
My name is Allan Adam. I'm the Chief of the Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation. In most recent events that took place and everything, many questions I was asked is that, what do we do from here? If we are to move forward in any capacity, then we have to seriously open our eyes of each and every non-Native Canadian to the realities that we, Indigenous people of the land, have had to live with for decades. First, I call upon your attention of the importance of sovereignty to our people. Centuries ago, it was clear and defined by King George III in the Royal Proclamation of 1763. It is in that spirit we continue our fight for our lands. Sovereignty was also reaffirmed by the British North American Act and the signing of the treaties. It is that treaty that I speak to you. I fight for our treaty daily and work at remaining of the injustice as we balance corporate Canada with First Nations. In recent adoptions of the Truth and Reconciliation, the TRC, by the federal government of Canada and all provinces, is the model vehicle that is being used to address long-standing discriminations with doubtful actions. Non-Native Canada or Canada are asking for ways to address change. Therefore, I bring to your attention the calls of Section 45, Section 46, and Section 47 of the TRC, the Royal Proclamation, and the Covenant of Reconciliation. The immediate action and the practices of the Canadian justice system and the necessary measures to correct violations against Indigenous people to be resolved, as stated. Bill Section 45, the third, reestablish treaty relations based on the principle of mutual reconciliation, mutual respect, and shared responsibility for maintaining those relationships into the future. Section 46 of the concept used to justify European sovereignty over Indigenous lands and people, such as doctrine of discovery and the reform of laws, governance structures, policing within the represented institutions that continue to rely on such concepts. We are all also in full support of the African people here in Canada and in the United States in their pursuit of justice. Further, we are taking immediate action of the injustice against Indigenous people to set up our own police force with full authority to mitigate justice measures against systemic discrimination practices in police brutality against Indigenous people. To have a liaison worker to assist police wherever dealing with First Nations people. In-depth cross-cultural police training to understand our people. And last, the First Nations being charged for criminal offenses and arrested may not be a criminal, but classified as a mental health matter. Therefore, to ensure the authenticity of the alleged crime before the First Nations is charged, it should be clearly represented in the fact that are they deemed a criminal or mentally health patients.